Good afternoon, everybody. So good to see that people haven't fallen asleep after the good lunch. So our talk is about EzSMS. Not just EzSMS, but some things around it. What is it? It's basically a small tool that we've written, which you can use to create Ruby-based applications on Android devices. Let's go ahead.
Yeah, so let's start with introductions. I am Chandan. I work for ThoughtWorks as an application developer. My Twitter handle is jog_Chandan, and you can reach me at cjog@thoughtworks.com.
Yeah, and this is how I look normally. I'm Habib. I also work at ThoughtWorks. And let's start the presentation with how we're going to end it. So at the end of this talk, you'll understand, or you'll probably give a better appreciation for SMS as a transport mechanism for your application. Understanding why it's good, how you can build up a small application on top of that. Quickly delve into Android, talk a little bit about how you can develop an Android application.
And last but not the least, how you can use your favorite language, that's Ruby, on Android.
So moving on to the next one. SMS is omnipresent. It's a logical choice for building applications where you want to reach out to a large number of people who are not very technology savvy. To give you an example, my dad can't use a remote, but he can check in and send an SMS. So it's not a hot new technology. You don't need the latest phone for it, right? You don't need 4G or whatever's coming next, 5G or whatever. SMS is there on every phone, and it's omnipresent.
Yeah, SMS is powerful, and we at ThoughtWorks have actually had a couple of projects. So we have something called the ThoughtWorks Social Impact Program. And we have done some projects in Africa where SMS was the main medium of communication for the application. So there's more tech and mHealth, the projects.
So mHealth is a new area in which applications are being developed. So it's mobile health. This particular project had a suite of services, and it was targeted towards women who wanted to gain information towards the end of their pregnancy and get help on antenatal and neonatal care. So it was a way to get technology to people in Uganda who might not be well off to have the highest grade phones, etc. So it's not just one particular project. There are lots of other projects that we've done within and outside ThoughtWorks as well. There's a whole new space opening up in SMS-based applications.
Yeah, there's a project that we did with Simpa Networks, which was around solar energy. So people have these solar meters installed in their places, in their homes, and by SMS you can enable the solar services. So it was a very unique way of, using SMS as a means of communicating.
And you might ask, okay, these might be like pro bono projects or projects which don't make too much money, but there are also for-profit projects like the last one. The last one is CycleTel, it's a tie-up with Georgetown University and project where people can get, again, medical health related information. So now that we have established that SMS is something that we can consider for building some sort of an application, let's see how you can go about building a large scale application.
Yeah, so if I have to build an application today, what are the options in front of me? So the one thing is I'll probably go for a service in the cloud. So we have services like Twilio, Toto, Clickatel. They provide a comprehensive APIs for communication, voice over IP, SMS, multiple things. But then they are constrained by the regions which they can serve. So the numbers might not be accessible. If you want to today use an SMS-based service here in India, you will probably not be able to use one of those services.
So I worked with Clickatel. We had the Clickatel APIs on a previous project, another social impact project, and we could send SMSs to people using Clickatel's APIs. So that's the large scale. Again, the disadvantages of that can be solved by going with someone like Airtel, or maybe not if the network stays up. So what these guys provide is they are the people who own the network. You can blast off millions of SMSs if you want, not spam, legitimate. You can also get a short code. You can get those 4-digit numbers, but you pay through the nose for those. So different edge of the spectrum.
Yeah. Or you can do it yourself. So basically there are certain softwares available which you can install and create a SMS gateway for yourself. So there's Frontline SMS, there's Rapid SMS. Both of these basically allow you to use a cheap handset connected to your machine, and you can become a sender and receiver of SMSs.
Yeah, so the thing to note in these cases is the logic still sits on your machine. The phone is just a dumb gateway which will send and receive SMSs for you.
Yeah, and the interesting bit is the last one, which is Envia SMS. It's again an open source project. It can run on an Android phone, so you can basically run a complete SMS gateway on your phone.
So this is good. So again, we've used frontline SMS at ThoughtWorks quite a bit. But the problem with these is your grandma can't set it up as easily. So being Ruby geeks, we love Ruby. Being Android geeks, I think almost all of us have an Android phone. Who has an Android phone, actually?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a big number.
Who has an Android phone which is less than 10,000? Good. So you have a whole range of devices which are there. Android is easy to use, open source, lots of applications, easy to deploy. So we'll show you how we can go about creating an application and doing those things.
Yeah. Before we do that, we'll just want to take a show of hands as to who have developed on Android before.
So maybe
yeah,
10%. Okay. So what we'll do in the next bit of the talk is quickly run you through the terms that you'll encounter when developing an Android application, and later on we'll follow up with how you can create a Ruby application which sits on Android. So as you know, Android is a Linux, but it's not quite a Linux. So Linux, GNU Linux, if you're a Stallman fan, comes with the Linux kernel. It has GNU libraries on top of that. It has the X server, all those things. Android doesn't have that. It doesn't have the JVM. So if you wonder how JRuby apps run, it's over the Dalvik VM.
Yeah. So let's start with the basic building blocks of Android.
So just before that, so if you go back, right,
yeah.
The Dalvik VM is another VM which sits on top of the base Linux kernel. It's not open for everybody. What we do is we basically write apps which get compiled down to Dalvik bytecode, and that's what runs on your phone. So it is quite similar to the JVM, but it's very optimized to a certain set of devices.
Yeah.
So Android devices are basically
resource minimalist.
Resource minimal devices. They don't consume a lot of power. You can't keep long running processes on it. They have a different architecture. So your normal desktop apps have x86. These are different. These are ARM. You also have Android running on x86, but Google TV I think is probably there. But the difference between the two VMs is Dalvik VM is very optimized. Uncompressed bytecode is slightly smaller than compressed bytecode for the JVM.
So we'll probably start up with a few building blocks of an Android application. So you'll listen to this term called activity. So an activity basically is a window for an Android application. It's a placeholder for your visual components, more or less. Yeah.
So anything that you see on the screen is an activity. Any app that you start is a collection of different activities. So these screens, they stay on top of each other, and they are loosely coupled. They're not like very tightly dependent on the other ones. You can cycle through them, like it's a stack, so you can cycle through them. The stack is called the backstack, right?
Yeah. To add to that, an activity basically, so Android framework gives you hooks to multiple things. So there are many callbacks during the life cycle of an activity. So on start, on pause, on resume, and multiple other callbacks. And the whole intent is that since you are working with resource constrained devices, you would lock the resources and release the resources as and when required, because an app can go in a pause mode for like hours, but you don't want to hold on to a DB resource or something which will kill your battery life or maybe drain resources from your device.
Actually, there's an interesting study done recently. Most of the power consumption is on an Android phone. It's not your application, it's the ads which run on it. Slight diversion. So you have a view, you have a rectangle on the screen. You have an activity that's divided into parts called views. You have predefined views which are widgets. So like a button is a widget. You have different widgets
layouts.
You can arrange on the screen.
Yeah, you have different layouts for arranging these widgets in place.
So that was buzzword bingo till now. Everybody with us? Too fast, too slow? Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Cool.
So time for some code.
Yeah. So this is how a typical activity would look like. So you would write your own activity, a screen that you would want, and extend it from the activity class, which is the Android API. And as we discussed, you'll have hooks on various things, callback mechanism, which you can place your code and work around it.
Yeah. So this is Java. This is not.
Yeah. This is the standard way of doing it in Java.
So we spoke about activities talking to each other. They talk to each other by a glorified mechanism of event called as an intent. So intent is basically an object which is like a message which is sent to a receiver or a bunch of receivers. So you use it to communicate between different components within an application or
within different applications. So you might want to talk to an email client or a message pop-up that appears. So you probably should.
The code should explain it a bit.
So this is a code for an intent, which would basically what we are saying is it's an action send intent, and we have an extra email intent with certain recipient names provided. So any activity which is listening on this intent will be able to respond to this intent. So there's something called intent filters as well. So intents can be classified as explicit intents or implicit intents. What do you mean by that? Explicit intent is where I specifically know which component should respond to this message, whereas an implicit intent is something which the application component describes in intent filters, saying that, oh, I can respond to XYZ intents, and it will the framework takes care of instantiating that component.
So we'll show you how you can go about describing it. So that's basically done in a manifest file, Java, XML, and NN. So what is it? It's a way to declaratively specify different components of your application. So you can have the activities, you can have the background services, you can define the permissions, you can define the API version that you want to target. Big XML file that we'll show you just now.
Yeah, this is again a simple gist of how a Android manifest file would look, an application manifest file would look. So the application tag is basically describing what's your application, and within that you would see the activity tag. So we discussed about activity right now. So I have a notes list activity, and it responds to this intent filter, which whenever you basically start up the application, so we have mentioned that it should respond to the main and the launcher intents. So that's the activity which will be started when you start the application.
So the launcher is the one that when you go to the
icon and yeah.
So that's the intent that's fired.
Yeah, and you can specify multiple intents. Interestingly, you can specify what are the permissions the application has. So this manifest file doesn't have permissions, but you can specify which permissions can be granted to the application as well.
Okay. Too fast, too slow. Okay. So you have the activities. You also have different components of an Android app. So you have background services, you have receivers, broadcast receivers, something that interacts with data.
There are multiple APIs, maps API, sensors, and whole list of things. You go to the developer guide on Android on the Android website, and you'll be able to go through the documentation of how do you go about using them.
Okay, I'm a developer man. Show me some code.
Yep.
So we'll open up a DB adapter. So what we have done is we tried writing a Android app. So I'm doing it for the first time. So don't hit me with tomatoes or rotten eggs. So basically something that we tried just to show you how you can go about writing it.
Yeah. So this is basically a DB adapter class. What it is doing is it's wrapping up so we have created a small application, and it's wrapping up all the DB related interactions here. So it's inheriting the SQLite Open Helper, which is again the DB is the SQLite DB, and it provides hooks for creating databases. So you can see create table, poll responses. Those are the tables, 2 tables that we are creating. If you come down, you can have a look at some of the queries that we have. So like if I want to fetch all the polls by given code, so this is how your code would look. This is all Java. So we have an app on Java, and we have a corresponding app on in Ruby as well. So just wanted to skim through a bit of Java code.
So there's a method called get poll by code. There's another one, get poll by ID. Can you scroll down? So basically the same thing, except that you generate the string in a different manner. So I'm pretty sure that there are libraries which do this in a better manner. But I mean, starting off, this is what we came up with. And after this, I was like, can't we get some active record goodness to do that? That's like a lot of code, man. So that's when we thought, like, okay, can we do this in using Ruby? Is it possible? Can we put an active record gem in an app and get things done easier?
So what? Yeah. So what are my options when I want to code in Ruby on an Android device? So I mean, we could find three options right now. There's Romobile. We'll have a talk on Romobile.
Yeah, there's a talk on roads tomorrow.
Yeah.
The last
topic.
So Abhishek Nalvaya will be talking about roads. I think he's also written a book on roads, so you should definitely check it out. There's another thing called as the Android scripting layer. So what it does is basically it allows you to embed an interpreter onto your phone. So they've got interpreters, Python and Ruby, and I think even Perl is in there. Still alpha, but
we haven't explored it much. Yeah, I mean, our main area of focus was Roboto, and the original creator is here with us, Charles Nutter. I mean,
not with us here.
Yeah, but yeah,
he's here
in RubyConf. Yeah,
you should definitely eat his brains. So
yeah.
So I'll quickly run you through Roboto. So Roboto is a way in which you can create Ruby apps in a very nice manner and deploy them onto your phone. You can, since it's JRuby, ultimately, you can use the Java libraries that are available to you as well. The Roboto project, as he said, was started by Charles Nutter, and lots of other people are there. The community is pretty small, but it's very helpful. So we had some problem with Active Record, trying to run Active Record on the phone a couple of days back. Got good assistance from people on IRC. The aim of this project is basically to make JRuby the language of first-class citizen on Android. Right now, it doesn't fully compile, but the aim is to have just-in-time compilation for your code so that it can run on the WPM. Right now, it's just scripting, but it allows you to script things very easily. And it creates a nice abstraction layer on top to the underlying Android API. Comes in two different flavors.
Yeah. So there's Roboto IRB, which you can try out. It's I mean, all of us using scripting languages would be familiar with interactive shells, and we want to use interactive shells because of the comfort that you can try out things.
Actually, just a quick poll. I thought, do a lot of people use IRB in their day-to-day development to check things out, right? So you definitely love it, right? Just reload the console again. Your code is there. Try out something. Do a new object. Blah blah blah. That comfort comes on your phone as well.
Yeah. So Roboto IRB is the project you would want to use if you are using Roboto. It again is an interactive shell on the Android device, and you can just type in the code and see it work.
So what he's done is he's imported Android widget, the toast widget, and he's created a text and he's shown the text. Very simple, and you can see it on the fly.
Yep. An interesting bit is if you go on the GitHub project for Roboto IRB, there are a lot of demo scripts there. You can go through, send through the scripts, and they'll show you how to use different Android APIs. So it's a good place to start up if you're using Roboto.
Again, the second flavor that it comes up with is the Roboto core. What this does is allows you to package it as an application. So it packages Roboto, it packages JRuby, packages the scripts that you've written into an APK, which you can deploy onto a device. So word of advice, you can also use the emulator. The word of advice is try debugging or creating an application on the device itself. The Android virtual machine is pretty slow. I think they've released something which makes it faster. We haven't tried it out yet. But for us, the cycle time between deploying changes to our device, etc., was much quicker on a physical device rather than the emulator.
Yeah. And we'll show you the emulator as well. I mean, those who have not seen the Android emulator. So, what are your prerequisites if you want to start up a Roboto app on Android? You need JRuby. So you can use any of the version managers. RVM is the standard these days for Ruby gem version management. You need the Android SDK downloaded. An important caution here: the Roboto framework currently works with the Android 15 SDK and doesn't work with the latest 16 SDK. And you
It
need
also doesn't work with JRuby 1.7 in case you're
yes,
going to run JRuby.
yeah, and you would need the Roboto gem and JRuby jars as well.
So I'll quickly run you through how you can go about doing an application or creating an application. That's how you can do Rails new, give it an app name. You do it similarly in this way. You do Roboto gen app, specify parameters like the package name, where you want to install it, what's the application name, minimum versions, what is the main class call. Then you can create, you can extend classes this way. So broadcast receiver minus name awesome receiver, so that gets extended, and you have your own awesomeness receiver.
Yeah, another interesting thing is this also generates a test project for you. Once you create a Roboto application, you'll have a test project corresponding to it, so you can test drive it as well.
The way to test drive it is pretty simple. So since all of these correspond to activities, what the test will do is instantiate an object of an activity, and then since you have a handle to it, you can test it in the way that you want. So this is how you can generate the code. Use your standard text editor and generate the code. You're writing Ruby code. You can import Java classes, etc. You can also package it and deploy it very easily. The rake tasks are like pretty cool. So with just a few keystrokes, you can reload the code, put it on the device. If you have gems, the gems get updated. Everything happens smoothly for you. So we are big believers of feedback. So we've created a very simple feedback gathering application. Again, it's pre-alpha quality code, but if you head on to polebox.com, you'll be able to download the APK and let us know how we are doing. So
we want to do a small feedback right now. So what you can do is you can send me an SMS right
before that, you take out your phone.
Yeah.
Take out your phone. Take out your phone.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Send an SMS to this number 08800493714. It's not my phone, so you don't have to worry. It's his phone. You can sign him up for any kind of services you want. So the way in which you will send an SMS to us is EzSMS. That's the code. Yes or no, Y or N. Yes, obviously, if you like it, and a comment. So I'll type in something EzSMS.
Okay.
No.
Dude.
You didn't crack enough jokes.
Okay. Give it to you. Yeah, so this is basically.
Go show the number.
Yep.
No, not this number. That number.
Oh, then okay. Yeah.
Yeah. 08800493714. Save it as Chandan and keep sending him mails, SMSs once in a while. Is it case sensitive? No,
it's not. Okay, I've been receiving. Habib, it's just your SMS. Come on, guys, couple of SMSs. Oh yeah, I received. Okay.
So what's going to happen is you send an SMS, goes to the phone. We have an application running on the phone, a JRuby application. It will pass the responses, the valid responses according to that format from spam. I get spam for buying houses in Gurgaon. I don't know why. It will send. So the device is going to send a post request to a web server, and
yep. Let's see. So we had some test messages already, and they're increasing. Cool.
So right now it's pretty simple. It's also open to abuse, so please don't abuse it.
Yeah. Yeah. So so this is so simple app that we wanted to show. Let's go ahead with the talk.
Yeah, Rocky.
So the SMS is sent on the phone where it is parsed and then it is pushed to a web server.
Correct.
Yep.
Correct. So we also have another app which is there on the Android market. This will basically show it to you on the device itself.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead and check out your feedback on this URL.
You can also give us feedback personally after the talk
yeah,
or during the talk.
yeah,
I think you are still getting messages.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, in the immortal words of Linus Torvalds, talk is cheap. You've shown us a demo. Now show us the code. So, Chandan shows the code.
Yep. Okay. So before we start with the code, I'll probably show you the emulator here. So this is a simple plain start activity for the app that we have, containing 2 text boxes and a button. So if I have to start up a poll, did you like my talk? Response code may be something.
Does it have a default answer of no?
It has default options of yes and no right now, but going forward we'll make it configurable. And then I say okay, send invites to the people I want to take feedback from, and then it opens up the message window, so I can choose the contacts from the list and message them asking for feedback.
So just the thing, I mean, I didn't have any prior Android experience. Developing this was quite easy, but there are some gotchas. We'll get to the gotchas. But creating a medium complexity app, having tests, running them, it's pretty easy.
Cool. So let's go to the activity. So this is the activity that I just showed you on the emulator. This class corresponds to that activity. So we have so Roboto actually abstracts away a lot of I mean it makes developing Ruby friendly. So if you want to import widgets like buttons, text views, edit views, they provide you with a Roboto import widgets utility. And what I'm doing here is on the create of my activity, I'm attaching 2 text boxes and sorry, a label and a text box for question, and 1 label and text box for the code. And then this is the button which on click you're handling the responses.
So the app that you saw in the emulator, that's the code for this here.
Yeah. So again, when I press send invites, what I want to do is I want to open up the message box on my Android device. And a brief while ago we talked about implicit intents. This is an example of that. So you're specifying intent action sent to, and this is what the message pop-up listens to. So it will fire open the message window. And what I want to format the code which I want to send across. Yeah, so that's about it. So what we tried doing here, yeah, using active record here. The performance of active record with Roboto was very slow. I mean, we wanted to try out using active record, but it was very slow. Yeah, so the code is here. The commented out code that you see here is basically active record code. You see here the with large stack construct. So there's an inherent problem with constrained devices. The stack level, the stack limit that a thread gets is very low, and when you try to load up heavy libraries
like active record, you have to wrap it in a large stack. So basically, it creates a thread and allocates it more memory.
Yep.
This thing works. It's a little on the slower side, but if you show enough interest, I think maybe you can get charged now to do it.
Yeah. So now let's go to the receiver. So what do we do when we receive the message? So this is again very simple code. What we have is a broadcast receiver that we have written, which gets fired. So I'll show you the manifest file for this. Cool. So we have a receiver here, message receiver, which responds to the SMS received intent. So whenever I receive a SMS on my handset, this is the receiver which will be triggered. This broadcast receiver will be triggered. What we do is we fetch messages from the intent. That's simple. What you're doing is basically using the Java classes using JRuby. So SMS message is actually Android Java library which we are using Ruby. So that's pretty cool. And what we have tried doing here is forwarding the message using both the default Java client, HTTP client that we have, as well as net HTTP. The code that you see commented here is where we have tried to use net HTTP to post responses to the server.
Yeah, so net HTTP comes default with Ruby.
Ruby.
You can interchange and use Ruby and Java based tools that you have. So
yeah, so
yes, so yeah, the code's available here. You can poke it, do whatever you want with it. So coming towards the end of the talk, so the good news is you can use your Ruby knowledge. I think almost everybody here has used Ruby. You'll be typing a lot less, and the best of both worlds is available to you. You have Android APIs, you have Ruby gems. Things are a little on the slower side right now, but they will definitely get faster. On the flip side, the bad news is JRuby is not really designed for constrained devices. We spoke about with large stack. So you'll run into this problem when you use a lot of heavy libraries. So the stack space limitation is pretty low. Roboto doesn't completely abstract away Android's complexity, so you still have to deal with so many terms coming at you. And the JRuby startup time is a little on the slow side. It's not too bad.
yeah.
So when you start up an application, JRuby itself loads, and then your code loads on top of that. So
Yeah, but if you want to write applications using Ruby today, Roboto is the way doing that.
And that's a box of
Messages that we have received.
I'm curious, man. Can you show the stats on the server?
Okay, let's see. No.
That's it.
Yep.
Oh no, it's dead. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. If you're not, I have to.
Yes.
So, like, JRuby, I can write Java code, basically system code, Java, and all those things. So, Roboto is just a wrapper over that, or
So yeah.
I can. So, sorry, this my question would be like I can write code in JRuby, compile it to a class, create a jar, and put it on Android, right?
Correct.
So, how is Roboto different?
Correct. So ultimately, you're still writing Ruby. You're writing JRuby. You're importing the Java libraries that are there. It doesn't get compiled to DEX. So ultimately, what happens is you have a jar file. Your gems are also pushed into that. That jar file, along with JRuby jars, along with Roboto gem, is deployed onto the device.
So it also gives you handy and nifty utilities to work around with. So if I go in the command prompt, I can show you the task that it provides.
Basically, it's JRuby plus syntactical sugar plus some utilities.
Yes. Yeah.
So can you show the
Yeah, so-
SMS, please?
Yeah, so these are the tasks. I mean, you can publish to the market directly through the command prompt. So they have wrapped up. It's pretty good. I mean, if you've just made changes to the scripts, you would not want to compile your code again and again. You just do update scripts restart, and just the scripts are uploaded, and it will restart.
So basically, it's another framework, just like Rails. You have a way in which you can create widgets, etc. So that framework is there for you, and you can use that to talk to Android. Yes.
Can you go to the options page, frontline SMS and all that?
Sure.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. What's the last one?
The last one is Envia SMS.
Envia.
ENVAYA. Envia SMS.
Yeah, that's our source of inspiration.
I think you had a question.
Any other questions?
Cool. Thanks a lot.
Yep. Excuse me. Oh, you're here. Oh. Okay, we have one more question.
The rake task can run code on emulator directly, or it's going to build a APK first?
We'll build an APK which will be pushed to the emulator. So the task basically, so I'll probably show you rake install clean, restart. This will basically build up your code, generate an APK which will be pushed to the Android emulator or whichever is or the device if it's connected.
So if you connect a device, it will deploy to that. If you have an emulator running, it will deploy to that. So the tools, the Android tools are pretty good. So you can see the logs as and when things are happening.
Yeah. So this is the emulator, and yeah, these are the logs generating. We are looking at the emulator right now. Emulator logs. Cool. Thanks a lot.